welcome to the Hollywood Dreams podcast. This is Santi, your
Hey
host,
guys.
and tonight we got a great show. We got a returning band, Rev Lover. Welcome, guys. Happy to have you back.
Thank
Good
you.
to be
Great to be
back.
back.
Thanks for
Hey,
having us.
Rev Lover round two.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah.
so happy to have you. I feel like I'm hanging out with old friends again. This is
Yeah,
so good.
it is
Um,
familiar.
Yeah, and let me tell you, your the two episodes that we put out, part one and part two of the 30th anniversary reunion. Those were one of the most watched episodes on our show, so that's pretty good.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
really?
wow.
and
Oh yeah.
they have a very very similar view count. So everyone that watched the first part also watched the second part, which is nice. I mean,
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
awesome.
cool.
are interested. Yeah, yeah.
It's cool. There's interest. The Rev Lover Facebook page just got its 500th follower, so that's a kind of a milestone for us, I guess.
Nice,
Very
nice,
cool.
nice, awesome, awesome.
You guys
And
deserve it.
another update since the last time we talked is that I'm a proud owner of the Rev Lover CD.
That's a good CD, man.
Yeah, I've been listening to this a
Awesome.
lot lately. It's so much fun, and it's great for car rides because it's 18 songs long, so it's pretty
That's
nice.
where I listen to it most of the time in my car because I'm in LA traffic hell constantly. And if I ever want to blow off a little steam or just have some fun, I'll just crank it up. It's in my little MP3 player, and bam,
Yeah, for
that
sure. I mean, yeah.
lightens the day right up.
You know what's
All right.
funny, Santi? I'll be honest with you. You know that this last couple minutes, our conversation, it reminded me of what it was truly like back in those days when you were a traveling band like us. You know, it was an analog world, right? And you didn't follow anybody on social media. It was nothing. Like we said, we used to have change and we used to call people on payphones when we get into town to tell them we were playing that night. You know, it was that
Right.
world, right? Um, and this reminded me of like first time that we went to a city because we would frequent things. So we had like cities in Milwaukee that were big for us. We had stuff in Michigan. We had certain places where Reno, Nevada, those were our hot spots. And we used to have people would say exactly what you said. Yeah, I'm an owner of the. And in our days, it was the cassette. It wasn't even the CD, right? Like it was the
Right.
cassette, right? It's like I had my cassette, and I've been listening to you guys since you guys, were last in town, and it was. So I just want you to know that was like a really genuine moment. Like it was almost like a time capsule right there of what it really was like back in those days. And it was more genuine in those days. Those were the people that would bring us food, which we really needed, right? So yeah,
Yeah, and
that was awesome.
well, yeah. I mean, I always try to support. I'm a collector of physical media, and I don't know. I've always wanted to. I guess I caught the last wave of the CD. I remember standing in line to buy new CDs the day they were coming out, that kind of stuff, which I think I'm probably one of the last generations that did that before streaming really took hold, right? And but now I keep buying CDs, vinyl, whatever. I don't buy cassettes because I don't have a deck, but
Yeah, and
No,
and to
well,
be to be honest with you, like when we were all growing up, I mean, vinyl was where it was. Like
right,
when cassette came, it was kind of like this diminished version of. There was something about having the record, and if it was a double record, and if it folded out, and if it had all the lyrics on it, and like all these little things that everybody
yeah, the
takes for
media was
granted
great.
nowadays. Yeah, a few pictures of the band. It was very like a treasure. It was part of it,
right.
which
The
unfortunately
package.
music nowadays just doesn't do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
What was the
Yeah,
last
and
No, it doesn't.
concept album?
you have a connection when you have it when you have your music in a physical form. I mean, you have a connection to the music that you don't get with streaming or just
Absolutely.
YouTube or whatever. It's
The way I felt like when I would go and buy a band's tape, because I bought tapes. I didn't really do CDs, but I would buy a tape. And because I was spending my hard-earned cash on that tape, I was going to make sure I listened to every single song.
Yeah.
And
You
now
got to
I
today,
hear
spend
you.
more.
I'm
it's
the
Yeah.
like
same way.
you pick and choose. Like,
Which one?
and I don't like that. I like because to me, like I feel like every album is a concept album in a certain way. Because when that artist puts that album together, there is a certain a certain path
idea.
they want to follow
Yep.
throughout the record. And I feel like the song order, everything is so important. And
It
Yep.
is.
Absolutely.
and I do
and
miss
it,
that. I miss that. But even if because
Yep.
I do a lot of the streaming. I don't buy CDs because I don't have a CD player, but I do buy vinyl. Vinyl is my preferred choice. But the streaming, if I'm streaming something, I listen to it all the way through as if because I want to hear it all the way through, and I want to hear everything.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah.
you always find those gems too that you would
Yeah.
never think of.
Attention spans today don't work the same way. When
No.
you bought a record, it was almost like in the early days, it was like an experience where you would literally, you sit down in a serene moment and you'd go for the trip, and you'd look at all the media, and the art was nice and big because records
Big.
were large. It
It was
wasn't
like,
like our CD looks beautiful, but if it was in record form, it would be absolutely stunning because of the
yep.
photography and the collages and the text, and a lot of the times, and the more deeper bands, the stories that they would put in, and even the technical information. And now all of this is like everything is superfluous. It's all invisible. This kind of omnipotent thing that's not really physical, and it's really hokey to anybody who's had the other experience.
Paul,
And
really tell us how you feel.
Mhm. Well, I'm old. I know how I feel.
and and Paul, if you want some good music, where can you find it?
That's easy. You can go to the Rev Lover Facebook page, and you can find videos, photos, stories,
All your
and
music, Nick.
everything
Find
that's
it all.
happening. All that.
I mean, there's I think there's also a sort of mystique around. Back then, you only would know a band because of the picture on the cover or on the back of the album, right? And or maybe you saw an ad on the magazine, but that was really all. I mean, you don't really knew how bands look like or what the names of the band members were. I don't know. And
Yeah, you're right. You had to work
yeah,
for that. You had to
yeah,
work
Yeah,
for
and
that.
Oh, yeah.
I
At
kind of
least
got
before
that.
MTV. MTV kind of helped you along with that when they started
It
doing.
did. It did, but the truth is still in those days you had to make the investment to really hear the full message. You would hear
Yeah.
one song on the radio, maybe a lot, but here's an album with 10 songs on it, right? And that one song sells you to buy the rest, and you know, you usually experience that for the first time in your bedroom or with a circle of friends that you choose. You're truly you're it's more likely that
Yep.
nobody's heard it. If it hasn't been on the radio, you haven't heard it. And that's the
Yeah.
difference, right? Unless
Yeah.
a friend had it and you heard it once in their bedroom, and that was what made you go buy it. How many times we do that? Oh, you hear a friend play
Yeah.
music and you're like,
Oh
Van
yeah.
Halen.
I gotta
I
have
know
it.
that. I heard Van Halen in a friend's bedroom and I bought Van Halen like that day, because I knew I wanted to hear more. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always used to always scan the liner notes too. What bands did this band make? And that's how I would find
yeah, I
bands.
mean,
Be like, oh, who's this? Okay, I'll check these guys out.
Mhm.
but even but
Yeah.
even learning music when we were younger and we were doing covers, even learning music was so hard. I mean, we used to learn. I learned Rush off of a cassette, and it was
Mhm.
ridiculous. Like
Hmm.
rewind, play,
Rewind.
uh,
Yep.
jam. Got to repair it. Okay, hope I know that part because it's not there anymore. It's got to need to click in it, but it's working again. So I'll try to
Wasn't
remember.
that
Even
that
worse is
time
ruining all
when
your
you did
records.
that?
Yeah, or doing it with a
Yeah,
record.
because
That
we'd
was
have to learn solos and stuff, and you have to repeat them, and you hit the needle.
impossible. It's
Yeah, it
impossible.
was tough. You had to work at it. We'd work a team sometimes. One guy would run the record player, and the other guy would calculate the changes.
The good old
Yeah.
days.
and you would only know a band like probably from a most likely a black and white photo that you saw somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess artists used to have this aura around them that made them sort of larger than life in a sense because it
It's
was
called mystique. They
a,
have
a
mystique.
mysterious band that you only heard on the radio once, and who the fuck are they? Or you saw them on a picture in a magazine, and you want to find more, and that's kind of lost now because everything's readily available for you. Uh,
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I think people
yeah,
expect less too. Now all they
yeah,
just simply want to do is get right down to the music. They don't even have enough attention span sometimes to even really listen to the whole tune through. It has to be really quick moving. Everything is very quick. I noticed even like when I watch videos of the modern day where it's hard to almost follow the storyline because the scenes are moving so quickly. There's nothing that your brain really latches onto. It's just I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. I'm showing my age, but I just know what I know.
well, that
I
and also I think
I
there's
agree.
another aspect of it is because, for example, I don't know, in 1985, you didn't know what the guys from Dokken were doing on a Thursday night.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it's everyone is so online all the time, and you know what everyone is doing because of the media posts. There's no like rock stars are they're
There's
not
no
stars
mistake
anymore. They're
anymore.
just
Mm.
people. It's just correct playing some tunes and I don't know if you get what I mean.
No, I
I
do. I do.
totally get, totally get it. It's no, it's mystique. If there's no
Yeah,
mystique,
the stardom is
It's
yeah,
gone,
and
definitely
right?
that
mystique.
Yeah,
mystique, if it's readily available, where that's it's natural human nature. If you love eating steak, but you had steak every day, eventually you wouldn't love eating steak. And it's the same thing with anything. No mystique to it anymore. So, and
right.
it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
It is what it is.
remember, uh, back in those days, people became stars and gained power and had influence. And if you really look at the history of the music industry and the film and television industry, you got people like Elton John who become people with a voice eventually one day.
Hmm.
And big corporation don't has gotten smarter over time, and with a disposable musical economy where people, okay, they get big for maybe a second and then they fizzle out, and chances are they don't make enough money to make the payments on their mansion that they bought when they were big, unlike other people that become like icons over decades, right? And that's gone. Name me one giant icon that you've seen pop up in the last 10 years.
No, yeah, it's
A
kind of hard.
real icon like a Madonna or a Michael Jackson or an Elton
Like
John or
icon.
Billy Joel. I could go on all day. Name me one. You
Yeah.
see a
Yeah,
few. You
I
see
get
a
what
Well,
you
few
mean.
clients.
it just changes so
Lady
quick.
Gaga, most definitely the first contender. First, maybe over the
I was
last 20 years.
just thinking about her. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
maybe she was the
Yeah.
last one. Yeah,
Maybe a Taylor Swift. I
maybe,
mean,
maybe, but so many
but it's
less.
so different.
So many less that would have the power to have influence on what the industry's doing.
Yeah.
right.
And I think that's part
Yeah.
of the game. Part of the game, right? It's let them be famous for a second and then not they have no power anymore and move on to the next one. So it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but that's the way it
It's
is.
like disposable art, just like the
But
disposable society we live
but again,
Yeah.
like you
True.
said earlier, when you bought the album, you usually called your friends, you let them know. It was like a ritual,
in. Yeah, it was a
you,
big
Yeah.
you
deal.
Oh
didn't
yeah.
just you didn't just do that with anybody. I've done that millions of times with my brother Paul earlier, and that's what we used to do. We'd buy, like, oh my god, here's the new Rush album because we heard one
Mhm.
song on the radio, so let's go buy it. Blah 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 blah. I mean, Tom, when we joined the band, there was like a lot of White Snake and Van Halen
Yeah.
1984 and all, and we listened to all that stuff for the first time together, right? And then had a discussion about it. Like, you'd shut up while it was going on, right?
Yep.
Especially if it's guitar solos and guitar players in the room, you just shut your mouth, man, let that shit fly, right? But the ritual part of it, the culture part of it, is disintegrated now because most people will do that on their own, maybe at 2 in the morning, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Forget about it because they're moving on to the next thing. Flip, 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 flip.
That's
I,
that's
I
because they're
remember
all
hanging out with like friends and going to like the mall, and each of us would buy a different tape because we knew we couldn't
Yeah.
afford, so
Yeah.
we all had different bands, and then we would share amongst each
Yeah,
other. It was great.
absolutely.
right, right.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
because everybody's doing this. Boop, 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 boop,
Yep.
boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
And it diminishes it. So now all of a sudden, your artists now have become these marketing mules, and that's what they are
Yeah.
now, unfortunately, to sell pop and beer and whatever else that they're pimping out. It is what it is. It's just a shame because you look at if you look at some of the great entertainers over time, um, although there's a few wacky ones, but there's a lot of really good ones, and there's a lot of really good ones with silent stories of great things that they've done for people, foundations that they fund, and just the people
Right.
that you don't know about, right? Because they're not necessarily in the spotlight, but they're doing like huge things for people. And it's just with less of those in the
Mm.
in the pool of the community, then less gets done for the people who need it. So it's kind of an really unfortunate domino effect, that starts at the artist and really ultimately ends up in the backyard of somebody who has nothing to do with music at all because there isn't somebody cool that's a rock star that can throw $1 million at a charity. You
I
know what I
guess you
mean?
could. I guess you can say sensationalism sells.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. Sensationalism
It
sells.
certainly does,
Yep.
especially in the 21st century.
Santi.
Yeah.
We might have to spank
Well,
him on his birthday at this rate. We might
yeah.
have to do it.
But if you look too, there's the internet has brought the music to people that, I mean, you can pull down a song as someone shows you note by note by note by note,
Yeah, you're
and
right.
you know what I mean? And as you start looking at these people, that a lot they become imitators instead of creators,
Right.
if you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where I think the loss is being, driven from.
Yeah. You can see that with all the like major draws, right? Everywhere today are cover bands or tribute bands. There's not many originals out there, or at least not. They're not getting like bar
Airtime.
nights or airtime. So.
Things are
Uh,
becoming recycled.
mhm.
Like for instance, I saw Ed Sheeran was in the news this week because he got some type of plagiarism type situation, which got kicked out of
Yeah.
court. But it's like literally things are so worn out at this point, and they're just kind of being imitated and re-imitated and slightly reinvented by sound and style. But it's kind of like we're in a kind of desert creatively. I don't see anything really interesting happening in the music industry at the moment, at least with the groups. Now, maybe
Well,
that'll change. Maybe
I
it
got
won't.
excited. Uh, I got excited 10 years ago with all the Swedish bands that came out, Scandinavian bands that started popping up. But that kind of died down the last few years as well. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that
COVID
there's
put the
some of
kibosh
the.
on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It really did. It stopped a lot of that.
Hmm. I know a lot of
Okay.
people in the industry because I work as a musician, and COVID stopped a lot of careers for a while, stalled them
Oh
completely
yeah,
because it was just that situation. But thank God, like I said, I think that's behind us now.
yeah,
Hmm.
for sure, for sure. So
Yeah.
tonight we got a sort of a behind the music episode in
Hmm.
line. Um,
How
um,
behind?
How behind? Well, that's up to you. That's up to you. I mean, this is an all ages show, so
Well,
no, I'm just
well,
kidding.
well, well. All right, Santi.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Um,
Oh, good, because that stuff used to happen in the trailer.
oh yeah.
The road cases are very handy. Anyway, go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, so the idea for this episode was to just talk about more of the like writing, the composing, the music behind the stars that we got spread out in front of me. um, Really, and so Paul very kindly sent me a bunch of notes about each song on the fantastic album that I have here.
Where can you
Um,
find that, Paul?
www.fnarecords.net will get you our physical CD either in digital form. You can have it in physical form, and I do believe. I'm not certain. We may have some autographed ones still left, but you still can get the CD without a problem with www.fnarecords.net.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
awesome. Yeah.
The commercial.
um,
It's perfect. You know, people laughed at that stuff last time. Come on,
oh, for
Sunday.
sure. Yeah, I mean that's we gotta
I
have
was
the.
gonna tell a horrific story right before you started on this, to be honest with you, about Keith, because he's not here, right? Where's Keith? Where's Blackster?
Oh,
Is it MIA?
He's. I mean,
Blackster is being Blackster.
yeah, he's running late. I don't know.
Okay, so I'll tell a really nasty story that involves him later. Go
Okay.
ahead, continue.
No, um, no. I was just gonna say. So I wanted to kick off that conversation just by saying that I'm really impressed by the album. There was a lot of songs on here that I haven't heard before, and I'm really impressed by the album. I think it's overall it's a great mix of both rock and roll and melodic music in a way that
Uh-huh.
you guys mixed like the more commercial popular melodies with the like the heavy riffs and basically the hard hard rocking part of it, and I think the final product is amazing. I just really like it. Songs like, for example, well, I would say my favorite song on the album is probably "Will Take You Higher." That's such a good song. It reminds me. I mean, I don't know. That could be easily a song on the "Slave to the Grind" album, and it would fit perfectly there. I think it's a great song. I like the lyrics. I like the music. I don't know how you guys feel about that song, but I mean, at least for me, I think it's my favorite.
Uh,
That song was a reflection of us at the time. That's most definitely for sure. You know and I agree with you. Higher is one of my favorite songs as well.
Yeah.
yeah, it was this commercial melodic kind of fusion that Rev Lover really was trying to capture. So this way we could get both the heavy fans and also the fans that appreciated good pop music. We kind of tried to balance that out, especially in the five-man format. And Tom actually put together a great video, which is posted on the Rev Lover Facebook page of Higher.
Hmm.
And it's not the full song, but has wonderful cuts, video cuts in there. It has pictures of us in the studio. It was a song that I would say would be representative of the commercial metal that we were looking for at the time.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's got a great drive in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean it does. I also really like the ballads. I know that Keep Your Dreams Alive" was like the hit song for you guys, and My Heart is really good as well. But
Mhm.
I think my favorite is "What If."
You
Yeah,
like what?
right. That's
That's again that was one of our big what we call the power ballad, and Revolver did a lot of power ballads. We had about 4 or 5 of them on the record, and they were really the vehicle for getting signed. The record companies didn't really care very much about your hot and heavy tunes. They were looking for the tunes that would catch chicks and would sell albums and also cross over into FM radio play, so you capture other audience besides the metalheads, which were just a sect of the market at the time.
Right.
yeah, and in those days you needed a great ballad. If you had a great ballad, you had a really good chance of getting a record deal. even more so than having like a great, like a heavy song, right? If you had a great ballad, you had a really good chance that somebody was gonna give you a shot, you know. And
Absolutely.
it's actually Keith, I wanted to tell a nasty story about him, and now you bring up What If, right? And here's the truth. Here's the truth of What If is it actually Keith started that song. He brought that song to the band, and
Hmm.
he came with the little melody of the verse. Na, 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 na. He came
Hmm.
with that part, and then I
I didn't
wrote
know
the I wrote the chorus. Yes, and I wrote the chorus, and I wrote the bridge and did the arrangement part. But Keith actually came with that melody, and he like sang it out, and he had lyrics and everything. I even used some of his lyrics. I think I used the verses. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah, that Keith actually contributed
Yeah.
somewhere
that.
other than drums
Lester was actually,
uh,
yeah, he was actually in the audience of people who were
in that
buying our
song.
record too, because of his age, and he really was like type of cat that was in touch with what was really going on at the time. So it doesn't surprise me that he was like spot on with that because he was really into the popular music of that time.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, sometimes with some, I mean, I'm not gonna name names, but some bands they release the ballad as a B-side to their more heavier stuff, and it's kind of turns out sounding a bit forced, right? Like it
Yep.
sounds like they put it together just to have a ballad and try to have a
Mhm.
hit, right? But that's not the case with you guys. I don't think. I mean, that's when I see it, it sounds very genuine. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's funny you should say that too, because truth is, it was very genuine, and it's funny that me and Keith wrote that together because here's the truth of the story. So we go out as a band at first time touring, and we were gone for 4 months, and we both had girlfriends when we, left, and then when we came back from touring, unbeknownst to us, we found out on the day we came back that both of our girlfriends left us,
Oh no.
and they left us for each other.
What? Okay.
Swear to swear to God. So and Blackster looked at me. We found out at the same time because there's no texting or anything like that. We just found out. We had to
All
go
right.
there to find out. And yeah,
I
they
mean,
left us. They left us for each other, and we didn't
I,
know whether to be happy or sad.
right. I mean,
It was
at
very
least
very confusing.
did you get to
And
watch at least?
we didn't know. We didn't know. It was like we needed help. We didn't know. We were gonna call Dr. Ruth because everybody used to talk to her back in those days. Hey, Dr. Ruth, tell us what to do. Yeah, but it was weird. That was like I don't know. That's a little bit of a low blow, but it's kind of hot. So
That's funny.
true story about What If. Hey, you want a true story? And
Yeah,
that
there you
happened.
go.
And we wrote that song like it couldn't have been 2 weeks after that happened.
All of this time was what if my girlfriend was a lesbian?
Yeah, what
Who
and it
who would
is
have
what if what if I didn't want to say goodbye because you're a lesbian now? Because I wouldn't want to say goodbye. I'd be like, okay, cool, but anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, um, all right. So what would you say is your what were the like the very first batch of songs that you guys wrote?
Oh my
Uh,
God.
the first song we wrote as a Rev Lover, as an official entity, was let's see here,
Yeah, but let's be honest. Let's go back.
Who You Gonna Love?
What was the very first song we wrote as a band? And really, we're going to Tom, John, Paul, myself, and Jason Banger, Frank at the time. What was our first song that we wrote? Do you remember?
No, that
What
was
No,
was
I think
it
uh,
wasn't
a long
don't
time ago.
penetrate my mind. It was
yeah,
No,
something
I
yeah,
know
else
that was
like
our
that.
song beforehand.
yeah.
Show you
I
how to
don't
rock.
remember.
Show you how to rock.
Oh, I remember the
Show
title.
you Show You How to Rock. Is that on the CD? I
Oh
don't
my
even
God.
know.
No.
No, it's not. That's
No.
Lick's song.
Okay, so good. Okay, yeah, I guess technically, but we were the same guys. It didn't matter. Here's the truth: is that was our first song. That was the song that we came to Los Angeles with. To and
Mhm.
here's another. You want true stories? This is it. We came to Los Angeles with it, and we had done a demo in Florida before we left because we had to go with at least a recording. This is our hit song, and it was a good song. And we get to LA and they put it on the radio because there was a local licks show and they used to play everybody's songs and they played our song last. They usually played two songs of bands, but for some reason they were only playing one of ours. We didn't know. We actually had to drive 22 miles in a van, sweating our asses off, and sit out in a certain place so we could get the radio reception to actually hear ourselves on the radio, right? And we have to wait an hour for the show to go by, right? And while we're listening, and this was true, we're like, wow, listen how good the recordings sound on the radio, man. They sound really good, don't they? Oh, yeah. And as soon as our song starts, it's like our hearts just like drop because our songs sound like shit. I mean, we didn't know any better. We came from the sticks, right?
Right,
It sounded good. Yeah,
right.
and that was a big like learning lesson for us. We were like, wow, look at that. We were like heard by millions of
Yeah.
people and we sounded like shit, right? Because we did. It was a good song that shined through the lack of production, but it was a learning thing. And as you know, like anything true in life, especially doing music, because you get crushed. There are days in music, and a true musician will tell you this. There are days where it is just hard to drag it all further. And it's moments like that we were really crushed and we came back stronger. We said, nope, we got to work hard. We're going to save some money. We're going to write a little better song because we know we got it in us. And then we're going to go get it recorded by the right guy. And that's exactly what we did. And then Who You Gonna Love came. And that's when
And
Who You
Cactus
Gonna
Johnny
Love.
came,
And
which is
Cactus
Yeah.
Johnny.
that was our
Yeah.
in.
Cactus
That's when
Johnny.
Rev Lover became Rev Lover.
And the truth is we recorded Who You Gonna Love first because we thought that it was, oh no, Cactus Johnny first is because we thought it had the most appeal.
Yeah.
I think it
And that,
artistically was
And
more
then
deeper
Who You Gonna
too.
Love came out.
yeah,
Everybody
Who You
loved
Gonna
that
Love
one.
was a really good song, but Who You Gonna
Yeah.
Love didn't have the original format that Cactus Johnny had to it. Cactus Johnny had a little something that made us stand out a little different.
We were different
At
because
least
it sounded
at least
different.
that's what we thought. I mean, Who You Gonna Love has like this huge, just addictive chorus to it, and it's
Yeah,
easy,
that's what it is.
right? But there was a lot of songs with that, so it's like, okay, I'm another song with a huge addictive chorus, or am I Cactus Johnny over here trying to be like walk the line in between a little bit? And yeah, that's Cactus Johnny. We actually had to like draw straws literally because the band was split on which one we should record first. And Paul was leaning more towards Who You Gonna Love, and John, God bless John. Let's definitely mention him tonight. Um, yeah, John was the one who's like, I think Cactus Johnny's the one. Okay, Cactus Johnny. So Paul conceded, and we did Cactus Johnny. And actually, they played us on local licks again because we
Yeah,
sent them to
Cactus.
Cactus Johnny, and then we kicked some ass because then we were like, oh, look at us. Now we sound like everybody else. So it was a learning thing, right? Because Hollywood like that, I mean, it can happen in a moment. You run into somebody and it's like this moment, this moment right now. Here's my
Yeah.
chance to jump in and maybe get a chance at grabbing the brass ring. Because there's so many that just didn't make it like us, right? Didn't really make the big stardom, right? And as you get older, really, you find the gratification and is hearing it and doing it and knowing you did it, and knowing you gave it your best shot, and that's what it's all about. And if you're blessed to have any music in your life at this point, then perfect life in my eyes.
Mhm. And you know,
Yeah.
the ballad was a great vehicle for Rev Lover because we also did Never Say Never, which actually was entered in a contest and we won second place and we got a fair amount of radio play. People say, "Wow, I actually heard your record on
Yeah, I
KNAC."
forgot about that.
You
Yeah.
remember, David? And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that excelled in the marketplace at that particular time. It just was spot on power ballad.
Yeah, that was a power ballad.
That was the last recording we did with Jason Banger. And I mean, it was pretty awesome recording on his end. He really killed it.
Frank was a good drummer. He was a talented
He
guy.
was.
Yeah, he was.
He was an asshole to deal with on a regular basis, but he was Frank. But you know the best part about Frank is as much as annoying as Frank was, he was like one of those guys. You couldn't help but love him, you know, because he always, even when he was screwing you over, he had a smile on his face and a laugh, right? So you had to love Franklin. Plus, he was so stupid you felt sorry for him. Anyway, I'd said it. Where's Blackster? I don't think it's almost time for that story. But anyway, I'll let you continue, Sam.
We'll just keep teasing the story.
It's a good one. I'm going to clue the other boys in. So the name of this story is The Alamo.
Oh,
okay.
I had something to do with your.
Look at that. Classic Rev Boy. Well, we're like episode 2 here. You told us we were popular last time. You know, we weren't going to come with nothing. So I'm going to tell you the story of stories, starring everyone. It's like a zombie apocalypse story. It's great. Go ahead. All right. Let's talk about me. Wait.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I'm just going by the notes here. I like this note, Paul, that you wrote down here. It says, really hot performance.
Which tune was that?
Yeah, Paul's a salesman.
Cactus Johnny, I think.
Oh yeah, I thought that, I remember recording that in 1988. It was the first time we worked in John Lowry Studios, and it wasn't just a place that you can go to record. He had to actually approve of the act if he wanted to produce it. We had to go there and sell us, but he sold really quickly because Rev Lover was a very organized group. We had concrete stuff. We had concrete protocols and execution. We knew how to do our job without being overly handled. We had our product and our vision really solidified, and he felt that we were skilled enough to work with. And remember playing, we went in there and we were so organized. We had been rehearsing for weeks, and we knew everything literally to the note, and we spent the whole day nurturing that song, and it was epic by the time it was done, even though it got damaged in storage, and they restored it as best they could, but there's some minor glitches on there here and there, but it still just displays the actual core 5-man group in its true entity. There was really balance. You could hear the quality of the guitar work and the depth of different musicians playing it. It was just a really great evolved piece that did not sound like any of our competition. As a matter of fact, there's very little that we did that ever mimicked what's going on. Even on Refine's record site, our band, even though we're in a certain era and niched in a certain place, has a unique sound. Not like some of the other bands, which kind of sound all similar and they all were imitating each other. And I know from that time, guitar players used to be doing the Eddie Van Halen trip, and everybody sounded the freaking same. And it was just so monotonous and so contrived and just, I don't know, it wasn't as good as it could have been if everybody was just themselves. But Rev Lover, like on Cactus Johnny, showed who we were as players. And I think that really established us as a band and a sound.
Now it's funny, because I will point this out, is Paul, as you can see, and I know Paul very well because he used to charge me 10 cents to listen to one of his records. Okay, Paul's like, Paul's like a record fanatic, right? And every record was polished to the shine. I mean, it looked like it just came off the space shuttle. And if I wanted to listen to his record, he'd charge me 10 cents, and he'd put it on my turntable, and he'd flip it. I couldn't touch the fucking record, right? And so anyway, needless to say, not that I had any problems because he bought the records and I didn't have any money, so it was okay. And I got it all on credit and screwed him in the end. So
matter. You know,
But
plus it's an
anyway,
older brother.
yeah,
To make it
and
tough.
I'll tell him about the Titanic model later. But anyway, what my point is Paul is the ultimate crossover between the 70s mentality and the 80s mentality in music, right? My brother has like that 70s background, where you had bands like Kansas and The Who and Supertramp and just bands that I mean, we're talking flawless music on almost an orchestral level, right? And then in comes rock and roll and then rocks crossover into the pop metal and all that other stuff. And some of that was a real tough pill to swallow a little bit because we got one upped by bands that came with more show and less musical ability. And we took a beating one time in Florida, and it really opened our eyes a lot. We went to like a battle of the bands, played that. This was even before. This was me and Paul and another band before we even got together as Licks and then become Rev Lover. And this band who played like a punk metal, I would call it, at the time, and they were wrong chords and all kinds of stuff, and they won, right? And everybody loved them, and we learned, hey, we got to go with a show, right? And it's hard to create that stuff. I mean, you're already like trying to create great music, and it's like, all right, now you got to create a fucking stage show, because nobody's going to want to listen to that shit if they're not watching something interesting, right? So you got to develop your personality, and you got to develop your mystique and your persona and what's your stage presence. And we used to have like very, very we used to have band meetings all the time, right? Because especially since we all lived together. And they were serious business. That was where you really said what you needed to say. And then a lot of times there was always like the sensitive subject that would be, we'd wait till the end to bring up before we talked about garbage pails or any other shit that we had to talk about, right? And that's where the decisions were really made that paved the road ahead for us.
Yeah. No. That's great. But um, so let me see here what I have written down. Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you about the Sorrow Road. Well, both the song and the video that you guys did. Well,
Have you seen the videos, Tati?
oh yeah, I saw it, and
No, you've seen the video. That was John's production there, really. He was the one who wrote the script for the video and we executed it, but that was his vision.
mm-hmm.
And
No,
really,
that's
we were
nice.
very fortunate that somebody actually came because doing video back in those days it wasn't like, yeah, I'll go do it on my MacBook. The guy had like experience, he had equipment,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I can't remember if I think he was more of like a weekend warrior type of guy, but anyway, he just happened to like our music and offered to do it for us, or it would have never happened because we couldn't afford it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, a music video,
Hmm.
shit, that was ridiculous. It was
We had to
untouchable
do
for
the
us.
real goers on site. We were on, and the music video was done out in the Nevada desert and outside the band house, which was kind of an urban environment, but it was perfect
Yep.
for our scenes, which we did.
So why did you guys decide to do a video for Sorrow Road instead of, I don't know, Give Your Dreams Alive, for example? Not that Sorrow Road is not a good song. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but it would make sense if it was Give Your Dreams Alive.
I want to say we probably even discussed that. Which song. I want to say it leaned more towards John, and I think maybe the guy had even a preference for it, and being that he was doing it for free, we were thinking, well, we need to do the song the guy wants to do. Um, but yeah, I want to. I can't honestly remember exactly, but I know John definitely
Yeah.
had influence in that song. And at the
Okay.
time, it was a cool song, and it was a
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
reflection of the band because we were taking some hits at that time. When we actually
Oh man.
wrote that song. You know
Well, that song
that.
shows actual, real artistic mastery. Our songs seem to evolve, and just the way the recording sounded and the quality of the instruments and the quality of the performance and epic vocals and really interesting arrangement. really good guitar work, all of that stuff made that song like a vision as to the best five-man configuration that we could come up with, and the most sophisticated, deep composition we probably had come up to date with was that Sorrow Road.
And the
Right.
truth is, we were rehearsing in a trailer at the time, remember? Because we were chopping that big stump out of the ground and we were renting a plot of ground,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So we're
right.
rehearsing in the trailer that we
Yeah.
normally have our gear in because we had come home and realized we lost our house while we were out on the road. This was right after the first leg, right? And this is when Sorrow Road is written. This is a month after me and Keith figure out that it wasn't so cool that our girlfriends left us for each other because we weren't getting anything out of that fucking deal. So we wrote Sorrow Road. And it's true though. It's true. That's the timing. And we wrote it. We actually wrote it rehearsing in a 22 or 30-foot cargo trailer in the middle of California wilderness. And we
Yeah.
were making ends meet because we were chopping out a tree stump from a tree that was probably 150 years old. Which
Huge sucker.
it was huge. And we had barely had tools, but that's how we made the money because we had nowhere to go because we lost our house while we were on the road because the war broke out right after our first leg of our tour started. The war broke out and everybody bailed. Places canceled. We got stuck on the other side of the country, right? Because everybody went to Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, yeah.
that
Yeah.
was Sorrow Road right there. I mean, we can't. We literally are. We lost our house before we even finished the 4-month leg, and our girls had to pack our shit for us and take it out of the house. And we all were coming back to our girlfriends having our stuff. And my girlfriend, who wasn't my girlfriend anymore, here's the best part of the story. She collects my shit, she brings it home, sets it in the garage next to the fucking water heater, and lights the fucking house on fire. She goes to work, and the
Oh
house
no.
burns the fuck down.
Oh my god.
And and here's the best part is she had my gun and the 400 rounds of ammunition in the box. So the firefighters are there trying to fight this fire, and it took the house. I mean, there's a big house too, and it took it. And all of a sudden, all kinds of gunshots started going off.
Yeah. Try to
took
fight
a
the fire, the fire fights back. Yeah.
took a Corvette in the
Yep.
garage, took it all, took it all.
Oh no.
Almost took
Oh,
her
that's good.
grandmother too. Yeah, of
Took
my shit.
Travis's,
Yeah, and
remember
she
that?
burnt everything I owned that I didn't take on the road. So when I came back, I literally had what was in the tour bus. I lost it all. I lost yearbooks. I lost anything of value. I used to save every. I saved from when I was a kid and I could remember. I saved every card, greeting or card that was ever given to me in my entire life. And just so that one day when I was older, I could look back, you know, and
Right.
uh, and I had this collect. That's what I would say. I lost the most valuable thing. Yeah, I lost my school yearbook with all my friends' signatures, all that other shit in it, but and some clothes that were kind of cool, but I wouldn't be wearing them now today. But the box of cards, I would love to have that. So, and the guns would have been cool.
I have no problem with
Yeah.
that.
So that's Sorrow Road
Yeah.
right there. There's Sorrow
Yes.
Road.
We
It
could
Yeah,
is.
with
see
autobiography.
how.
I don't think it gets more sorrow than that.
I know.
It makes sense. Yeah, now I get it. Okay, so on a lighter note, I guess. I also really like the first song of the album, "Wheels of Time."
Well,
Oh
that's
my
an
God.
interesting story there. I'll lay
That's
a
a
little
very
groundwork
yeah.
out. David and Tom can fill in the bits and details.
Can
So
we?
this song was really the first song that I present to FNA Records, um,
Okay.
and it really kind of solidified them wanting to sign us because the guy got back with me, and he was really impressed with this song. But it needed a name because we wanted to use it on the album as the lead off tune, and it needed a name that was more pertinent to the song. We couldn't use the name that it originally was because it was called Morbid. And it's just this goofy name that we use for it. But Wheels of Time kind of, it encapsulates the concept of the song. And the reason why the record company liked this song as the lead off song of the record is it really showed a balance of players. Like you saw, everybody in their respective roles get featured in the song really well. Really nice guitar work, excellent vocal work. We had backgrounds, probably some of the best backgrounds on the record with the five-man group or in that particular tune. And it has this just wonderful kind of Queensryche, beautiful layering of elements in there and epic guitar solo in the middle. I mean, it's just a really well done rock tune and it sounds original. It doesn't sound, again, like a lot of the cliche things. And it hooked the record company because it was commercial and it had a really just excellent vibe to it. It was a great way to start the record. And it was actually a record that we did in our own studio on quarter-inch tape, but it, in the restoration, it came out really nice.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the sound quality on the album is great. I mean, you can tell these were recorded at different times with different equipment, but they all sound good either
You
way.
can thank my brother David for the good audio because David was this recording technician slash producer, which actually put together many cuts on the Rev Lover record that weren't done in the professional studio on the 2-inch tape. Now, of course, I know which ones are what, but during the restoration, these songs that all kind of brought up to a similar audio kind of quality. But David did a lot of the recordings on our record.
We were dealing with shit in those days. We had a 4-track cassette recorder and whatever else we could find. We didn't have any gear. I remember, in typical Rev Lover style, though, we'd always try to do things right. We'd build if we could pull out hammers and shit. Tom over there was the first one in fucking line. We build shit. What do you need? What do you need? You need a riser now? Okay, give me 10 minutes. I mean, that was us, right? We're like, yep, we could do this. And we built like rooms and all kinds of shit, hanging carpets on walls, all kinds of shit that we would do. It was really nice once we got into a professional recording environment. My more noteworthy engineering things were the things that happened later, like the Milestone album. The Milestone album, I recorded that album. I was the engineer. We did it on an SSL and a Trident, in the same studio that, Peter Gabriel recorded in, and all kinds of huge people. And my parents had had ownership in the studio at the time. So we actually did it there. It's called Artisan Sound Recorders, right in Hollywood. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But the old stuff, we had to work hard and go and get studio time. It cost us. We spent $400 to record the first song. I remember that, $400, which was a lot of money in those days. And we just had to hustle and save, and then we went back again, recorded again, and we've had some other things like that I saw got on there, like that we did that we hated. And it's always the free stuff. Whenever we worked with John Lowry, we always got a good product. And there was a reason for that because he at the time, he had a good chemistry with John and Paul and a lot of respect musically as because he was a musician himself. And that helped Paul and John, really like have a third opinion that they could trust, right? Because they trusted him.
I trusted him and listened.
Yeah, I know you did. And because he helped them too with, like, he was an older player, so he helped them a little bit with their tone, and that's really what it's all about in the music world is you get lucky enough that other people educate you along the way, because it only takes one little thing to, make it all wrong. Right. And they were fortunate in that way. And I can hear it on the record, that I could hear that signature that he put in there. John also played like the keyboards on Push On,
and also Keep Your Dreams.
Yes. Well, yes, Keep Your Dreams. He did some. he did some composition work on something that I brought to him. But Push On, actually, he was recording the band, and he played light piano too, and he had like that Hammond organ in his house. And while he was setting up for us the next day, because we were there a couple days, we recorded several songs at this time. He liked the song so much that he started playing this Hammond organ over it, and he was like, "Wow, this sounds really good. What do you think? You want to put it on there?" And he played a track on our thing for us. So we were fortunate that our music was inspiring somebody respectable, because he was working with, David Lee Roth was in there recording and things like that. Was like the place David Lee Roth used to go to do all his private recording, like all his pre-recording, do probably a lot of his songwriting, and for us that was like, wow, this is like, okay, cool. We feel like we found the crumbs on the path, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
heading in the right direction. I'm hearing people's names and Greg Bissonette, and we weren't fortunate enough to bump into them, because that's what we were hoping too. Like, oh man, what if they, we bump into them? Wouldn't that be cool, right? I bumped into more people because I was running a print shop in Studio City right on Ventura Boulevard. And there was all kinds of famous people who used to come in there all the time. I think I told you a little bit about this on the last show. And that was pretty cool.
So how was the recording process for? I mean, not the when you guys compose your songs, wrote your songs. Was there always, like, you, David, always wrote the lyrics, or was there input for? Did
Oh,
you
that's an
guys all?
interesting story too.
Oh,
What we would do is we would submit concepts and ideas to the group, and they
yeah.
would be filtered through and fused together into music. Sometimes they would just be little bits and pieces. Sometimes they'd be song arrangements, and it varied. And what happened was everything was done basically by vote.
Okay.
If it
But the
was good,
truth, but the real truth in the really good music was that stuff would like fall into our laps.
true.
Not necessarily in the whole, like the whole entity, like like Paul said, it would be in a chunk. Like Cactus Johnny, I was outside fixing a lawnmower. It was a Sunday, I'll never forget. We were all living together. We had just moved to California, more or less. And while some guys are doing yard duty or something like that, sometimes other guys would go jam. And we were always respectful for that type of thing, because it was good. Like sometimes just Frank and Tom would go play just drums and bass, right? And you got to give them their time too, because they're the rhythm section, right? But John used to like to jam with Frank a lot, and John came up with that riff, da 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 da, and Frank just started playing with him, right? And it was like, like the bait in the crab pot. I mean, and eventually we all filtered in there, and before you know it, whatever the fuck we were doing, we were all there together with our axes on, playing stuff, playing this riff. Wow, this sounds really cool. And we worked on it for like 2 hours, and we ended up with that song, like right there on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then guys used to jam a lot without me, a lot without me. They were, because we learned, hey, um, they're not supposed to be following the singer. I should be following them. They should be driving that bus. So I'm doing my thing. I can just expect them to be there, and they need to get there. And that was good, because that took maturity, right? It's like
Stuff like
people, a
that.
lot of people don't understand, like a band, you have to make concessions everywhere, right? But there has to be like respect for everybody. There has to be the desire to watch your brother, friend, soulmate blossom too, right? Because that the big picture is just going to get that much better if everybody has their space to be themselves and be great at it, right? And we had plenty of like band, we have plenty of band meetings, that's for sure. But and heavy ones, where you knew something had to be said to even the playing field out sometimes, right? But everybody had an open mind. Okay, the common goal. I want to get here, and I know we're going together, because there is no out, and that's what I believed that from day one from all these guys. When we all said, hey, look, Nobody's quitting. Just
Hmm.
nobody's quitting. And Tom, Paul, John, nobody ever quit. They just didn't.
Oh,
Frank had to leave. Um, it was what it was, and that opened opportunity for the Blackster, who isn't here, by the way,
Still.
at penalty of story yet to come. So
uh, yeah, but I think you can really tell when a band cares about the music and not just partying or like I don't know, the image and all that. You can really tell when they put their passion in the work that they do and they try to hone their craft. And with you guys, I think that's really you can really see that. Um, there's a lot of bands with a great image, great videos on MTV, and but songs are all the same, or I don't
mhm.
know, riffs are all the same. But I was really surprised. Not that I was expecting anything different, but I was really surprised with the album because every song is like a little story with a little very different from each other.
they do,
Uh,
and they're
yeah.
definitely for us. They're
Yeah.
like time stamps
Yeah.
of things,
Mhm.
right? Of times,
That took
like
place.
yeah, like wind me up. Wind
Mhm.
me up. That was like a shifting gears for everybody in every direction. Remember when we wrote "Wind Me Up"? Where were we?
Mhm.
We had just come back from the road again for the second time. Now we've managed to rent a house, so everybody's not like living with their girlfriend or their girlfriend no more. Because I still had to stay at my ex girlfriend's house somehow. I worked that shit out. How I don't know, but I did. And because her mom liked me, so I came anyway. And anyway, the boyfriend before me did the same shit, so I knew I could get away with it, right, Travis? Who ain't here either, so he can't defend himself.
Hey, wasn't that the house that was slanted?
Yes, yes, that was the
Wasn't
house.
it?
Yes, this house was slanted. We pull
Yeah.
into this thing. We got to put this bus down this slope. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
the guy next door, the lunatic next door, he has Barbie heads on the fence, right? Just like Barbie doll
Yeah.
Yeah.
heads. Yeah, on the
Okay.
fence, right? Oh yeah, and he's growing weed, and his name is David, of course. I just gets blessed with the same name as me. Lunatic, shirtless, hillbilly fuck. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where we ended up
Sounds
living.
like a great guy.
Yeah.
The
He was
second
a
time.
good guy though. He was actually really looked after. He looked
Yeah,
after me.
but the way we looked at it is it was kind of if you want to look at everybody's mindset at the time, we had kind of gotten over the initial hurdle. We had been out twice now. And now things were, although it wasn't where it was, but it was looking up again. It was like, wow, we recovered. We're starting to recover here. We got a
Right.
roof again if everybody needs it, because that was tough. Me
Yeah.
honestly, I worried if the band was going to survive that. I did. I worried that maybe people would have just given up, and I wouldn't have blamed anybody if they did, because I spent a lot of time living on the bus at that time when we wrote Sorrow Road and all that other stuff, because that's where I had to go. Right, the bus. It was the weirdest thing knowing that the only home you have has a license plate on it.
Yeah.
And it's parked next to this fucking abandoned building that we've turned into a rehearsal space. That's really what it was.
Yep.
I wish we had pictures. See, that's the thing. People have all these pictures nowadays. There's so many things I wish we had pictures of, like that we
Yeah.
could show you, like where we rehearsed and all this other stuff. We didn't have that luxury. I don't even know if we had a camera, to be honest with you. That was like
Got a
something
still
you
Well,
just
shot
you can
camera.
actually for "Push On," which is our only song that we did that was not, really like any other type of song we did because it had this country rock thing. But we have a great video on the Facebook page, which Tom put together of life behind the scenes, and it goes through the whole "Push On" soundtrack with that,
Yeah.
that happening. We spoke about it last time, but it's definitely worth a look, and to really get a
Sure.
sense of some of the lifestyle, actually the photography end of it, we do have that at least.
Yeah.
we actually had some
Yeah.
girls follow us in the beginning, and they had a video camera, and they actually like followed us for
Yeah.
3 weeks, something like that.
Leslie,
Yeah, and they followed us and they just kind of documented a little bit and went to the shows. And they were two nice girls, but they literally had nothing better to do, and obviously had the means to do it, and followed us, right? And just, okay, where are you going next? Okay, it was almost a little weird for a second, but they were cool people, so okay, whatever. And they had a
Yeah.
video camera, and
Do you have that footage?
no, no.
Oh, that's sad.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, if you think about, okay, look, it was that close, and now you look at today, you grab your phone, and
Yeah.
we take HD video on the spot, right? So
Right.
video not so valuable anymore, right? It's like that's gone,
Yeah.
right? And it's a shame because there's so many things. Like, it would be nice to be able to show you, what it was like back then for us.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a couple of videos on YouTube that, like, the Sunset Strip, a night at the Sunset Strip or something like that, where someone had a camera one night and decided to
Yeah,
just
I mean, we
film.
just got lucky. We just got lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's funny because, yeah, as you say, if that was happening today, everyone would have a phone with the camera on, and
Yeah,
we
and
we had a, but
you don't need paparazzi anymore. And paparazzi footage is the hot footage, right? But not anymore because you got it all. It's just
Everywhere.
it's a deterioration of culture. That's what that
right,
is. Just as really a
Yeah.
deterioration of culture. It's if you don't
yeah.
have to work for something, it loses value. It's just that simple.
Right.
We
yeah,
used to
for
save
sure.
money to buy an album and have to choose between one or the other. Yeah, and
Right.
some are
Yeah.
hard choices. Oh my God, which one am I not going to buy? And you look at today, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? So you're less vested in it.
And they don't even release albums anymore. They're just singles.
No, it's just all a bunch of singles. But
Right.
again, that's a
Digital drops.
Yeah, and
Right.
again, that's like, okay, so I want to
Everybody's
be
so jaded. Yeah, they're just jaded at this point. They don't even realize the quality of things as they were in the past. Now everything is moving so quickly, nobody appreciates anything. It's just like a constant conveyor belt.
and
Yeah,
and
but at the same time, there's also a I think people, like, yearn back to a simpler time where you could buy an album. You can see that on the vinyl sales, like, going up again. Like, I read that for the first time this year, there was vinyl sold more than CDs since like 1991 or something like that.
Wow.
And
yeah,
Yeah.
but here's another point, and that's possible and hopeful.
yeah,
But the dark side of the wheel of industry is, truth be told, guys like Tom, myself, John, we're all of the age where, okay, we're older, we maybe have more disposable income, so we want to buy those old records we used to get a long time ago. And it's not that the young people are doing it, it's that the old people are doing it because
yeah, I guess.
they can afford to do it again, right? So it's just a weird thing. I think that a lot, not having the mega stars that we used to, the magnitude of mega stars, is a huge deterioration to the record industry. Most definitely. Remember when they used to get together? Like, look at like Live Aid, and look at
Yeah.
even like the songs that they did, the We Are the World they did, and then the Rock
Yeah,
guys did one, right? And you think about like all that, and look at that, right? And that wasn't even all of them in those days, right? That was just some of them. But look at how many big stars were up there, and you can't do that nowadays. You could
There's also another thing too.
would you know
You know,
anybody? I wouldn't.
yeah, also now the cost of things are crazy too. Like I bought Queen tickets for my wife and me to go here in Los Angeles. You know how much I paid for them? $800.
oh,
Yeah, I
And
know.
it doesn't have
Well,
to be Mercury.
yeah,
It's still
yeah.
$800.
No, I get
Crazy.
I get that too. It's unfortunate where the world's heading in that direction.
It's hard
yeah,
to
Yeah.
see
Yep.
people anymore. You can go to concerts back in the old days. You'd spend